Hello, everybody. This is Rhett. Welcome back to Progress America Unfiltered. I'm here today with Tyler and Linda to talk a little bit about the Republicans' spooky behind closed doors commission to cut Social Security. And we're also going to talk about Senator Mitt Romney, who is leading that fight to gut Social Security. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about Vivek Ramaswamy, who is kind of stirring up some headlines with his unusual working temperature restrictions that he likes. He even had some former people of some pretty high ranking going around and turning down temperatures for him in offices that he worked in. So really weird stuff that we're going to be covering today on this channel. And for that, I'm going to pass it over to Linda to talk about our first topic, which is Social Security and Republicans' latest attempt to cut services.
Yeah, so Republicans have just released a new budget proposal, and it has all manner of awful things in it. Medicaid cuts, cuts to Meals on Wheels, programs for children. They even defund the police, funnily enough. But what I'm here to talk about primarily is that it includes one of their favorite proposals, pops up over and over and over again, which is a commission to cut Social Security, Medicare, and other vital benefits behind closed doors. And so what this basically does is it creates a commission that can subvert the regular congressional order and go for a fast-track process that allows them to push through Social Security and Medicare cuts in a way that the American people can't see what's happening and don't get the kind of voice that they would normally have through regular congressional order. And the only reason to do this is if you want to cut benefits, if you want to improve and expand Social Security and Medicare, you can do it in the light of day because everyone wants to do that. Democratic voters, Republican voters, independent voters, but everyone hates Social Security and Medicare cuts. So that's where you need to go behind closed doors. And what Republicans really want is bipartisan cover for this commission. And so they even call it a quote unquote bipartisan commission in their budget. But the truth is that as long as Democrats refuse to cooperate, there's actually nothing bipartisan about it. And so that's why at Social Security Works, we're really urging all Democrats to come out against this commission and definitely not to give any cover whatsoever to this latest Republican attempt to cut our earned benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure you touched on this, Linda, but I was lucky enough to, do a TikTok for Social Security Works, which helped me learn a lot about this. And so it is really, really frightening what they're trying to do. First and foremost, we have to talk about the fact that they want to do a closed door commission. The reason they want to do a closed door commission is because we have seen time and time again how unpopular it is among the American people to do the cuts that they're proposing to cut Social Security and Medicare. Time and time again, the American people have said, even Republicans, we don't want that, which is why Republicans are so adamant on doing this in a closed door commission and a closed door meetings, so they don't have to out themselves to their constituents about who is, ready to give away their earned benefits and trade them, so that their friends and the ultra rich and corporations can continue to get tax breaks while most Americans aren't able to pay for one unexpected health bill. So that's one thing which I don't like. And, now they're holding the federal government hostage with a shutdown. We live in DC, Linda and I, so this is very important to us because it will fundamentally impact our day-to-day lives, even as non-government employees. So if Republicans continue to hold the federal government hostage to have this shutdown so they can get this commission, we're going to see a lot of things impacted. Federal employees may be forced to work without pay. Same with Social Security Administration employees. We could see delays in benefits, and it's just going to be chaos, all in the name of, them putting more profit in the hands of their friends. So it's pretty sickening, if you ask me.
It's the same story time and time again of how these Republican Congress people are trying to just shift any sort of transparency, any sort of accountability, taking it away from the public eye, putting it behind closed doors, because as we mentioned, time and time again, the policies that they support are not popular with the American people. It's rebranded well, and we're going to talk about Fox and Friends later on this show, but they can go on Fox and Friends, they can twist their little stories, they can put on a show for the American people that aren't maybe paying attention to this into the way that our audience is, and not kind of deal with the accountability of it. So there's a lot of comfort with them with these behind closed doors meetings. And I think that if there was something to learn in terms of accountability from this, it's let's do away with these closed door commissions. We need to put more trust in government in institutions. And I think that goes away with like these like closed door commissions as a whole, because like what good has come from them is what I want to know.
Absolutely. I think one of the fundamental, functions of our government is accountability. And you can't hold people accountable if you don't know what they're voting for. And again, that's intentional. And we've got one of our least favorite, maybe not least favorite, but definitely nostalgic throwback senators who is also trying to make himself the face of these Social Security cuts and commissions. I know, Linda, you wanted to talk a little bit about our good old friend from 2012, Mitt Romney.
Yeah, so Mitt Romney is the sponsor of a bill in the Senate called the Trust Act, and that would also create a very similar fast-track closed-door commission. And Mitt Romney's been in the news a lot lately. He's just announced that he's retiring. He's given a lot of interviews for a new biography about him, and he's been getting lots of fawning media coverage, basically just for doing the bare minimum of saying, hey, we're a democracy, we should have free and fair elections and respect the Constitution, and I'm uncomfortable with what some of my Republican colleagues have been saying in terms of trying to overthrow our government. Like, that is the bare minimum. It should be what's expected. We shouldn't be getting fawning press coverage for that. And then what's getting lost in that is the actual policies that Mitt Romney has supported for his whole career. He was originally a private equity guy, and he grew up in wealth, so that's just been his whole life. He's a out-of-touch billionaire, and then he ran in 2012 with Paul Ryan, Mr. Social Security and Medicare cuts himself, as his running mate, and very much embraced Ryan's policies of slashing Medicare, turning it over to Wall Street, cutting Social Security, and he really has not changed at all. In fact, he's kind of part of a breed of Washington establishment, very serious people, quote-unquote types, who actually think of themselves as like extra special good people for saying the hard truths about Social Security and Medicare that nobody else will tell you. But what they ignore is that we can not only protect but expand Social Security if we just make ultra-wealthy people like Mitt Romney pay their fair share.
Absolutely. And, we've said it before. I don't have too much to say on Mitt Romney, to be honest, but I will say this, Mitt Romney is not the person who is going to be worried if somebody in his family has, a health scare. Mitt Romney is not, at risk of financial collapse if he has to go to the hospital for some routine testing. But the everyday people that he represents or, soon to be represented are. And so, again, we just have to stick his face on this and let people know what this really, really means. It doesn't mean more money in your pocket. It's more money in his pocket and in his friends' pockets. But, at the end of the day, I'm so tired of people who don't actually have the same worries that the everyday American people have about their healthcare coverage to be, making these decisions for us.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And just one other point that I wanted to make about the difference between Romney and other people of his ilk, like Nikki Haley, Chris Christie, and MAGA Republicans, Trump and his followers on Social Security and Medicare, it's not really about the policy. The MAGA Republicans still want to cut benefits. Trump proposed cuts every year that he was president. And he's even said that that's something that he would want to do in his second term. But the difference is that Romney et al., they kind of take a pride in talking about it. Like I said, they think that that somehow makes them good people, so they want to tell you. Whereas Trump figured out that it's actually bad to talk about cutting Social Security and that it's going to make voters angry and you will lose elections. And so they're actually trickier, the MAGA Republicans, because they're still trying to cut our benefits, but they're just not coming out and telling you like the Romney types. So we have to make sure to highlight what they're actually doing and not just what they're saying.
Yeah, Linda, that's a really strong messaging point. Just like the kind of the populist message of like the MAGA crowd, just like hiding these very real threats to the systems that so many of them rely on, especially as they get older, so that they don't have to deal with like the tough coverage on it. I think that is a really important point. And I think also just like one thing to mention, like in this conversation of Social Security as well, Mitt Romney mentioned, like, as part of the reason that he's not seeking re-election is that he would be in his mid-80s by the end of his next term if he were to run for re-election. And he does not think that's right. But of course, not only does he think that he should be making decisions, I guess he's just also fine with people at that age, like dealing with things like not having the Social Security safety net that the United States has previously employed to protect people in this country. So it's really just some some scary stuff, but not surprising. But I guess like the scary stuff is what gets them like these like very pretty opinion pieces in like pretty well-known publications across our country. All right, everybody. So while we are talking about work, we are going to talk about what Vivek Ramaswamy is doing in office spaces. So he thinks that office spaces should be set to a cold 64 degrees for maximum productivity, which is like cold and odd. And like, I wouldn't do anything in 64-degree weather besides like drinking like a nice warm cup of tea and enjoying like a nice soft blanket. But he thinks that this is like optimal working conditions for some reason. And this comes into a lot of other questions too, related to like gendered clothing and like professional clothing in the workplace. So I want to pass it over to Linda to start talking a little bit about what is going on with this wild demand from this GOP presidential candidate.
Yeah, so Ramaswamy, throughout his career as a manager, boss, has required his offices to be 64 degrees. And there might be some rationale about productivity, but the truth is it's just because Ramaswamy is most comfortable at 64 degrees. So this just really shows this is such a self-centered individual who thinks that he's the main character of the world. And as long as he's most comfortable, his employees can be miserable. And so, very similar to his idol, Trump, in that way. But the story also struck a chord with me just as someone who tends to be very sensitive to the cold, who's worked in a lot of overly air-conditioned offices in my life. And another story that's been in the news a lot this week is about the Senate dress code being relaxed, for senators only, of course, not for staffers. So that if a senator wants, they can wear more casual clothing on the Senate floor instead of a suit. And how so many men in American offices are still required to wear suits or at least like pants and a polo. And those are like not seasonally appropriate clothes for the summer. And so then you end up making the office really cold, and women who are in like dresses, skirts that actually are seasonably appropriate end up freezing. And so I think that what this means is that we should let men start wearing shorts to work so that everyone can be more comfortable.
Linda, I think that's a great point. And like you really connected those dots for me, because when we introduced this topic and you're like, maybe men should start wearing shorts to work, I was thinking like, do I want to see like C-SPAN, for example, and like see like Kevin McCarthy wearing shorts on TV? Like, no. But I think that as you explained it, like in this context of like gendered clothing, I think it's a really important topic. And like also just kind of in what we deem as like professional dress code is very much rooted in heteronormativity in the country and like sexism, all of these things that we really should be doing away with. So Linda, you've convinced me. I'm pro shorts in the workplace. Tyler, what are your reactions to this?
So my pretty much only takeaway is this. This man wants to be president. Do you know how large the White House is? There's simply no way you can keep a building that large at 65 degrees. That's completely unreasonable, not eco-friendly. So I think for that reason alone, we need to keep him as far away from the White House as possible.
Yeah, agreed. And actually, another benefit of the Let Men Wear Shorts to Work plan would be that it would help our planet.
Absolutely.
Oh, there you go.
Save the planet, men. Wear some shorts to work so we don't have to turn up the AC.
I think also like worth noting in the article that this dropped in that Vivek Ramaswamy hired former Army Rangers as bodyguards to go and turn down the AC to the 64 degrees. Like, can we just talk about how wild like that is as a request? Like, you just see Army Rangers. I don't know why I'm imagining them in uniform still, like walking through the office, like turning down the air conditioning units. But I have to ask, like, do you two have as specific of a degree that you're comfortable in as that? Because I definitely do not. Like, that is so specific. I would round it to like 65, 60, or like 70, like make it a whole number, at least go to like a 5.
I don't know. I grew up in the South.
Yeah, I would say mine is like between like 73 to 75, depending on the humidity level. But I also like fully accept that my preferences are considerably warmer than most people's. And so like if I controlled the thermostat of an office, I would probably go for around like 70, maybe 69 to try to maximize everyone's comfort, come to a reasonable compromise, because that's what normal humans who don't think that they're the center in the universe do.
Yeah, exactly. I like it warmer too. I honestly can tolerate up to 80, to be honest. Because if it's cold, I'm going to need blankets. I'm going to want to lie down, and that's just a lot. So, yeah. But I agree. I know if people come over to my place, I will turn down the air to a reasonable temperature. So, take some notes, Vivek.
This just reminds me of so my friend like had a free pass so I could join her at this cryotherapy chamber here in San Francisco. And I mean, that's like negative 160 degrees. It was awful, like truly awful. I don't know even what like the purported benefits of it are. Like there's supposed to be like good things for circulation, like muscle relaxation, like that sort of stuff. But it just seems like that's maybe like a good optimal working condition for Vivek. Like he maybe wants to go explore a cryotherapy chamber, or maybe one would be installed in the White House. Who knows? The opportunities are truly endless. Um, is there anything else you two want to say on this topic? Linda, I really got to give you props though, like for helping me understand this issue, like in like the broader scope of like how it relates to like gender roles, like genderized clothing, like that sort of stuff. I think that's a really kind of important perspective that's like, I think consistent with how we apply the things that we talk about on this channel. Like how does it relate to these like fundamental issues that are faced in our time? So really cool stuff. Well, with that, I think we are good to go. Linda, Tyler, thank you so much. Thank you all for watching Progress America Unfiltered. This is Rhett. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff, and let us know in the comments below what you thought. What are your favorite temperatures for working? We got to know. And thank you so much. Have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.